Last time on The Ables, we found out that all of our main characters are pretty bad at LARPing. Thanks to the big brain energy of their genius friend, they managed to get themselves teleported to Cleveland by the mysterious secret Cleveland man. Secret Cleveland man. And we also overheard the parents talking about how more superheroes are getting kidnapped. Now our quote-unquote heroes are headed back to the library to investigate what they can find there. Hello, welcome back to my darkened living room. Let's read some more. Gotta get through this bad boy before I have to start reading The Savior's Sister. The last chapter ended with them being like, okay, we found this secret thing and there's probably a top secret room underneath. We have to find out what it is. And then the next chapter begins. From that point forward, our team was about as dedicated to self-improvement as could be. After our dismal first performance, we had nowhere to go but up. But it would take practice and planning to get there. We met every day at lunch to discuss Super Sim strategy. Why are they planning for the next Super Sim? Why are we even still thinking about Super Sims? That was obviously a fail of a plot point. Just ditch that altogether. They have found a secret tunnel. Secret tunnel! They have to get to it. They have to sneak into the library at night or something. I mean, come on, people. And that would be a cool chance for our main character to use his blindness as an asset because he could use his cane to guide the others around in a pitch-black library. Why are we still talking about the Super Sim?
Stop it!
Also, they're acting like, oh, we're doing all this research on the Super Sim and past Super Sims and blah, blah, blah to improve ourselves. And it's like, didn't you guys do that last time? I just assumed that you did all of this logical, training stuff. Because, you never show me anything. But no, I guess this time they're really studying and really practicing. I completely forgot that they sometimes have a guy with them named Freddy who can turn into a giant, but, I think he passes out every time he does it. Why do we bother having these other characters? Why do we bother with Donnie and Freddy? They are unimportant. Our main character has formed his little group of 3, sometimes 4, and that's all they need. Our main character mentions that his powers aren't very good for, fighting. He can rip things away out of the hands of any potential burglars, but he can't really fight the burglars. He just says he could knock people down sometimes, and all I can envision is that scene from the terrible Avatar movie.
Leave him alone!
Got him. Oh, no, honey. Oh, honey, you do not live on my Facebook. Halloween is coming up, and he says, I loved how Halloween came and went in a relatively tidy fashion. Not at all like Christmas, which takes its sweet time over 2 months of anticipation and build-up. Halloween just shows up one day, lets you prance around in a cape and a mask collecting milk chocolate and gummy bears, and then disappears as quickly as it came. No, not on my Facebook it doesn't. It's the beginning of August, and some of my friends are already talking about Halloween. And I point out to them how annoyed they get when people do the same thing with Christmas, but they don't care, because that's their favorite holiday. And no, I'm not bitter, absolutely not. I don't know what you're talking about. I love that my feed is covered in stuff for a holiday that's not going to happen for a few more months. Boy, this is going to date this video, by the time this comes out, it probably will be Halloween. But right now, it's August. The beginning of August. Now we're learning that his mom loves Christmas for no fucking reason. So we spent, this entire page just talking about holidays. Oh sure, they'll dress up in costumes for Halloween. They're not too cool for that. But will they dress up like everybody else in superhero costumes for the Super Sim? No, because they're too cool for that kind of costume wearing. What? So Bentley comes dressed as Sherlock Holmes, because brainy, and he invites our main character to come dressed as Watson. But our main character's like, nobody knows what Watson looks like. Okay, so Watson isn't described in the books, but there are hundreds of Sherlock Holmes adaptations that figure it out just fine. Just pick an adaptation you like and dress like that Watson. It's not hard. I'd say I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I also don't know why he's talking about this. There, Professor X. It says that Bentley in previous Halloweens went as Professor X from X-Men, and yet Bentley is certain, and everyone here is certain, that he cannot effectively use his powers even though he's in a wheelchair. Seriously? They have the same powers! One of the girls finally shows up, Penelope, which he helpfully reminds us is the one who can control weather, because this book gives 0 fucks about the girls. James couldn't come, I forget which one James is. Oh, he's the teleporting one, okay. And they were going to use his teleporting abilities to get them to houses faster. Save on all that legwork, walking from house to house. So the only reason Penelope is here is to whine when she gets tired and Bentley has to walk her home. So, yeah. Great. I love that for her.
Girls, come on. Leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so.
Now, it's cool that our main character has figured out that through one of his buddies, he's able to see. And I know a lot of people have complained that, like, oh, well, he's a blind superhero, but now he has this ability that basically he's not a blind superhero anymore. And I'm like, yeah, but if you look at superheroes like Daredevil, it's kind of the same thing. Whatever, that doesn't bother me. The thing that bugs me is that he is completely dependent on this other person being there. And if Henry isn't there, then our main character basically can't use his powers because he's not practicing them anymore, that I've heard of, without his partner in crime. So rather than, like, learning how to use his powers better when he hasn't got his buddy with him, he's relying on his buddy more and more. And that's not terribly viable in a superhero, I don't think, because what if your buddy gets taken out by the bad guys and you are rendered absolutely useless because you didn't practice your superpower any other way? That bothers me. A really common trope is like, oh, that superhero has a disability, well, here's the way that they get around it. Or here's a way that we can sort of pretend they don't have it. Or they're even better because of it. Oh, Donnie's with them as well. I keep forgetting Donnie is here because he matters so little. So I know that Henry here can't zap images into our main character's mind if he's too far away. But, like, what if he got that power, like, suddenly, like, that ability kicked in while he was masturbating or something, and our main characters all of a sudden sent vivid images of his friend's dick. I'm really hoping that Cleveland guy comes back or something while they're out trick-or-treating, because it's literally been pages of just watching them trick-or-treat. Also, these kids are being very bad. They are eating some of their candy on the way, not taking it home for their parents to look at it first. And again, our main character does something visual to not necessarily save the day, but advance the story. So as the kids are walking down the street, our main character, through his buddy's eyes, sees someone he's like 100% certain is Cleveland Man. And he's like, did you see that? And like, he's looking through his buddy's vision, but he is seeing things better than his friend. Why? Why? I mean, I guess I did expect it. You know, like I was just saying, the superhero gets a power that negates their disability and also makes them better at the thing that they were previously not as good at. So all of a sudden, they peek out from behind a car they're hiding behind, and all of a sudden, there's someone else with Finch is Cleveland Man's name. Anyway, all of a sudden there's somebody walking with Cleveland Man, and they're like, how could that be? He was by himself before. And I'm like, you literally have a friend who teleports. So, I don't know how, but good old Jeremy Scott is managing to make a scene where a bunch of kids follow two creepy villains down a darkened street on Halloween. Boring. How? It's a skill. Now there are 4 figures that they're following. Oh boy. And their footsteps are all happening in perfect rhythm. My theory, perhaps, is that one of the superpowers of this guy is that he can split himself into multiple people. But that's a bit of a shot in the dark. They're still baffled by the fact that there could be other people here, even though there are a million superpowered explanations for where these other people came from. Dun dun dun. Okay. So this chapter ends. The boys have lost track of Cleveland Man and his cronies. Cleveland Man and the Cronies, the new band. Check out their latest album. But they lose sight of them, and they're like, where are they? And then Henry finally turns around to look at our main character, and what do you know? Cleveland Man is standing right behind him. And the next chapter is really short, I think, so we're just gonna read it. Well, at least the author remembered Donnie now that a new chapter had started, but, like, they run away from Cleveland Man, and they're like, come on, Donnie, Henry yelled. Donnie, I'd almost forgot all about him. You forgot, don't even lie. You don't lie to me, Jeremy Scott. You fucking forget that Donnie is in most of these scenes. I don't know why you have him as a character if you do not care about him, as you so clearly do not. I'm sure Donnie's gonna be like a linchpin later, but then Eustace's character, you're doing him dirty. You're doing Donnie dirty. It's good to know that even though our main characters had to flee with all haste, they kept their candy. That's important. They thought they got away, but then Finch is right there. Cleveland Man is right there, and he's like, huh, y'all just ran to exactly where I wanted to go. I guess he's just gonna show them what he's doing. Finch here leads them to a giant hole that he's been digging in the ground at the edge of town with the help of his mysterious cohorts. Alright, we have the Cult of the Believers here at last. They are here trying to find Elben, the one who can do all. Because he's gonna rise again. That's probably problematic. He's like, long before America existed, indeed long before America was discovered, this place, this city, this very spot was central to our people, your people. So he's implying, I think, that superheroes are a different race of people, and they lived in the Americas before the Americas were discovered. So, but like, how do the Native Americans fit into that whole situation? Are we saying that Native Americans are superheroes, or are we saying that there were a bunch of white people who did live here prior to white people coming here? Maybe that should have been considered a little bit more deeply before you wrote that, but whatever. So Finch makes a hint that he is not Elben, but in fact Elben's enemy. I can't remember who that was. Just hints at it. And of course, he's like, oh, he also hints that he doesn't know who Elben is, which probably means that our main character is the one who can do all. Or will turn out to be once they juice him up, once they power him up a little bit. Why did this guy show them the hole in the ground? Because then he covers it up with an illusion. And he's like, well, normally I'd either make you join the cult or kill you. But this guy voluntarily brought them here and showed them this. They didn't know this was here. So he could have just waited until these kids got bored and went home, and then gone to his giant pit all by himself. Suddenly Henry grows a pair of completely steel balls, and he's just sassing down this probably supervillain. You can't... So Henry just, like, turns around and is like, I'm gonna leave. But then it says, Finch merely smiled and puffed his pipe. I warily eyed him as I turned to follow Henry and Donnie. You can't warily eye him, because that implies that you can see him, which you cannot do because the guy who is your eyes has turned around. Finch also has Cyclops eye beams, and he zaps the ground in front of the boys as a warning. We find out that yes, old Finch here is an absorber. Very original name, which means a popular trope is that he can take on the powers of superheroes he's near. Now there's a fireball headed toward them, so I don't know if one of them has the power of fireballs or whether this guy just like absorbed some other people's powers and came here with them. It's very unclear. Okay, so he definitely absorbed some of the other kids' powers, because he turns into a gigantic person like that one kid could do. I keep forgetting they have superpowers. Suddenly there's a loud explosion, drowning any hope I had of hearing Henry. You don't need to hear him. You can communicate psychically. The bad guy is just basically turned into Godzilla and is literally stomping around, blasting fire at things, so that's where we're at. Also, this is the first thing that I can actually call a proper action scene, and look how far into this superhero book we are. I think that's actually a problem I have with a lot of superhero fiction. I think that there should be action in it, like it's superheroes, right? When you watch a superhero movie, it's usually pretty active. But superhero fiction doesn't tend to be that way, and I always end up disappointed. And this one, like, because I don't care about the characters and they're not deep at all, they're about as deep as a puddle, without action, what does this book have? Nothing. He finally remembers that he has the little puck that lets him call his mom. So she shows up. Oh no, she grabs them, but she can't teleport them out because along with everything else that this guy can do, he can also create a localized NPZ, no power zone or whatever it is. So I guess actually what this guy can do is once he has been around any superhero, he can forever use their powers, which would explain why the bad guys kidnapped that other guy who, like, is in charge of creating the null power zone. So Mom can't teleport away because she is now trapped in that zone. Seems like this guy could have saved himself a lot of time and trouble if he just, like, A, didn't show the children his top secret hole in the ground. A hole in the ground. He didn't show them his other top secret hole. Or B, just shot them with a gun. But no, he had to turn into giant fiery Godzilla and light a cornfield on fire and multiply several little mini fire demons. It's a hassle. It's a hassle. Maybe he's a showman. He's very flashy. He's like, no, I wanted to turn into Fire Godzilla tonight, and I'm going to turn into Fire Godzilla tonight, damn it. And then Mom gets fridged. She gets fridged real hard. And then Finch, like, leaves? He says, and I've just realized your unexpected appearance has provided me with the perfect way to guarantee what I want. That's what Finch says before he zaps Mom and she, like, falls down. And that's the end of the chapter, really. Why any of that? We're back for chapter 17, moving on. So have we decided that we're just not going to have a plot? Mom is still fridged. It's been several weeks since the incident in the cornfield. Yep, Mom's in a coma. She's been fridged and fridged hard. So apparently there are some powers that are like unforgivable curses, basically. Teachers talk about them in hushed tones. Of course, we're worried about Mom right now, but like, I hope we find out soon what the fuck happened in that cornfield and why Finch let them live. Apparently, Donnie, like, went and found... I thought Donnie was going to show up and, like, use his superpower to save the day, but instead he apparently went and found our main character's dad, somehow. And I was right, as I suspected. At least one of Donnie's superpowers is that he has super speed. So, Mr. Charles, the farmer, the whole time they were being attacked, they were like, where is he? Why isn't he coming out? And I'm like, well, obviously the bad guy must be, like, dampening it or throwing a hologram, like, over the field. Like, he hid his hole in the ground later. So maybe he's just doing that and the farmer doesn't even know what's happening. But apparently, no. The farmer knew it was happening. He had just vowed never to use his powers again, and so just let whatever was happening in his cornfield happen. I mean, even if the farmer didn't want to use his own superpowers, could he not have looked out in his field, seen a Fire Godzilla chasing after people, and been like, oops, I better call somebody? Can do that without your superpowers there, guy. Our main character doesn't even really speculate why the bad guy put the mom in a coma and didn't kill them. Our heroes are preparing, I think, for the next Super Sim, and Bentley is climbing trees and putting little cameras inside them, which I have a number of issues with. Bentley has mobility issues, but apparently he's just really good at climbing trees. But it's winter now, so the trees are icy. So this kid with mobility issues is climbing icy trees. And most importantly, they have a kid who can psychically lift and place objects. Why is anyone climbing the trees when our main character could just hover the camera up there and tuck it wherever they need it? Bentley is the dumbest super genius ever. He's only smart when the author tells us that he's being a super genius, which is basically only when he comes up with something that the reader came up with ages ago. Our main character is bemoaning the fact that they lost the last Super Sim so hard. There was no getting around the reason, our disabilities. That is not true. It's because you clearly went in without a plan. You got in there and you were like, oh yeah, what do we do? How do we find the crimes? Like, you didn't fail to apprehend any bad guys. You didn't even find the bad guys. And it had nothing to do with your disabilities. Oh, Chad is coming back, apparently. Did this banishment turn him into a supervillain? Because I feel like it had the potential to by the sound of it. They also realize that they're one team member short. They have 6, they could have 7 team members if they wanted to. And they think about inviting some of the girls, but then they just don't. Probably because of the cooties. So Chad walks up to them while they're talking about a new teammate, and before he can really say anything, Donnie just, like, gets up and, like, punches him across the room. And that's pretty much the end of the chapter. We're left kind of wondering why Chad came over to them. Was he going to bully again, or was he going to try to be friends now? Are we going to have that bully to friend sort of arc, although it's not really an arc, or what's going to happen? We don't know, but Donnie punched him, and then Donnie got sent to the principal's office. Hopefully he won't get fucking banished, because that's what happened to Chad. But that's all we're going to read for tonight, so I will see you guys in the next chapter.
Stop. It's this month's patrons. Ray, Artemis, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Raikio, Irene, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, Callison, Lennox, and Anne Sophie. All right, carry on with your day.
I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, here they are.
Stop it!